Okay, dear Lord, thank you for bringing us all here, and I thank you for the great message we just received from Jay Constantine, and I pray, God, that as I deliver this testimony, that it would be you speaking through me, and that it would not be myself speaking about my own experiences, but that it would be you speaking through me and conveying the kind of things I experienced with you and the kind of things that I was able to take part of in Laos, God. I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay, so I went to Laos over summer because of missions. Yeah. Sorry. Okay, so let's begin this PowerPoint slide. Okay, I want you guys to meet someone. This guy is Burr. He is a 20-year-old student. He's studying electrical engineering, and he has an older sister and enjoys hobbies such as soccer. Oh, sorry, you can hit the next slide. And riding his motorbike to school. So, yeah, he's a pretty normal guy, you know. He's just like you and me, except for two things, you know. One, he lives 8,000 miles away in a place called Laos, and two, he's never heard of Jesus Christ. But that all changed this past summer when he ran into some American students on his campus who invited him to play soccer with them. So these students told Burr that they had come from America to make friends and that they were teaching English lessons at someone's house. But because Burr was having so much fun with his new American friends, he kept showing up to English lessons. But he felt like there was something different about these friends. They kept talking about this guy, you know, this friend that who was always there for them, who would always help them when they needed help, and who would never leave them. But they never saw this friend. And Burr, after a week, you know, he got so desperate of, you know, hearing about this friend but never getting to meet this friend, that he decided to ask who this friend was. And so that's when his American friends decided to share with him who Jesus Christ was. And so after hearing the gospel message, Burr went home. He thought about it hard, and he talked to his parents about it. And you know, his parents, you know, they're Buddhist, but they didn't really like him, you know, going out to these Christian events. They didn't really like him learning about Christianity. But Burr came back the next day, and he told us that he wanted to accept Christ into his heart. And so Burr's story is just one of 12 of the students we met in Laos who accepted Christ. And this was all because, you know, 16 students really from America decided to give up their summer and go to Laos to make a difference in this world. And so let me tell you a little bit about Laos. So Laos is that orange country right there, the one next to Vietnam and Thailand. And it's the only landlocked country in Southeast Asia. It's also the smallest, and it's exploited because of that by the other countries around it. So Laos is a pretty poor country. And our mission team was centered in Vientiane, which is that little star city right there. It's the capital city of Laos on the border of Thailand. But although it's the capital, it's a very unmodern city. You know, it felt like we were in the 80s or something. You know, the tallest buildings are like 5 stories, and they got all those like trucks and all those stuff you find in Asia. But that's slide. So a little bit of statistics. Laos has 6.5 million people. Only 0.6 are Christians. That's about 39,000 people. And most of them are Buddhist. As you can see in that pie chart, that's a very slim percentage of people who are Christian. And one of the biggest reasons why is because Christianity is, you know, that Western thought, and, you know, the government's communist, and they don't really like Christians. And also, again, you know, Laos is 31st out of 42 in its economy in that region, so it's pretty poor. Yeah, but the next slide. So what do you do on missions? You know, I heard a lot last year during mission season about why you should go on missions, and, you know, you should go on missions, you should go on missions, but what do you actually do on missions? And so I wanted to talk about what my team did on missions. And this is different for every team, depending on the country you go to, depending on the campus you go to. But my team was divided into 3 smaller teams, and we went to 3 different universities. And we had no real set schedule, but we sort of had something that we got used to. It was in the mornings we would go to the campus, we would meet new students, we would get their contacts, and we would invite them out to events that we were having later that afternoon, like English lessons or playing soccer. And then at night we would have activities with the staff or the other Christians in Laos, and then after that we would meet up with our team. And then on the weekends we would do special activities with the students, like picnics, bowling, Friends Night. So Friends Night is a special night that we put on, that our mission team puts on, where we go to the other country, and there we do body worship, we do praise, we do message, and we basically have an opportunity to share the gospel with students in Laos. And they invite all their friends to come out, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Yeah. So week one, we spent 3 weeks in Laos. Missions is like 3 weeks long. And the first week, we sort of focused on making friends with the students, really establishing a relationship with them. And then week 2, we sort of brought out the gospel. English classes turned into a chance to share the gospel with them. And then week 3 was like discipleship. So we would single out those who had accepted Christ, and then we would make sure that, they got rooted, they got plugged into the campus ministry there. And so it's nothing too extreme. It's not like they're asking you to build houses, it's not like they're asking you to dig wells. It's something we all can do. It's something, everybody can make friends, and it's just sharing the gospel with people who have never heard the gospel message before. And yeah, it's really simple stuff. But so now I bring up the question: why go on missions? Why missions? And I have 2 answers. So I have my answer for why I went then and why I would go now. And so then it simply made sense, I guess. Jesus said to go. Jesus is like head honcho. He's the top boss. And if he says go, then you gotta go. So, that was my mindset, So I was like, okay, I gotta go. When? That was the only question that was in my mind, When do I go? And so I sort of have my life planned out, before missions. This was my life, okay? Okay. So, we got like high school back then, like we call it Thursdays and stuff. And then freshman year, we got, all these summers are blue, okay? And then so I had the summer between freshman and sophomore year. I was like, I don't know what to do. And then, all the other summers I would research, sleep, then go to grad school, get my PhD, become a professor, get that Nobel Prize, then, retire and die. Yeah. It's a quaint life, not bad, I would, give myself props for that. Yeah, so it just makes sense, if I'm gonna go, then this summer I'm gonna go, because it's the only time I have left in my entire life where I can go. It's like, after you graduate college, then you're busy for the rest of your life until retirement, and then you're too old to go, unless you're JS or anything. But I guess I have a different answer now. It has to do with this as well, but my answer now is based on what I experienced in Laos. And my answer now is because you meet God. You meet God when you obey Him, and you meet God when you take a step of faith. Missions is hard. It's simple stuff. We're making friends. We're sharing the gospel that we already know. But it's tough. Every team has its flaws. My team had a little bit of communication issues, and then it was especially hard because I'm not Korean, and both my staff are full Korean probs, and the only thing I know in Korean is kimchi yongso. And so yeah, I got lost a lot. There were times when I would just, for the first 2 weeks, I would just go to the campus, go to the center, and I wouldn't know what to do. I'd just sit around and watch everybody else do everything, because I know what to do. Nobody told me what to do, and I didn't speak their language. And there were a lot of times where I felt like, I was the weakest link. I'd see my mission brothers and my mission sisters, they're sharing the gospel, they're winning lives to Christ, I'm sitting there empty-handed like, I haven't shared with anybody yet. And it was in those moments, of my weakness, it was in those moments where I was unable, that God met me, that God showed me that, hey Noah, this love that you're loving with, it's your own love. Here, try loving with my love instead. And He would show me His love. He would give me His love to love on these students, to share this gospel with these students, to share the greatest message that anyone could ever hear with these students who had never heard this message before. It was in those moments, of our weakness and our inability to do anything that God meets us. God doesn't meet us when we're comfortable, when we don't want to meet Him, when we don't need to meet Him. He meets us when we're desperately seeking after Him because we need Him, because we're sitting there with desperation. We rely on God. He meets us in those moments. And and also going back to the previous slide, now is the opportunity to go. In all seriousness, this college life is an oasis. It's this short amount of time that is perfectly opportunely placed in our lives where we have the freedom to do what we want right now. But after we graduate, what are you going to be doing? You're not going to have time for this. You're not going to have time to take 3 weeks off to go on missions. A lot of churches don't even offer missions, and a lot of churches, if they do offer missions, it's long-term missions. Not everybody can take a year off and go on missions. But these 4 little summers that we have before we go to the real world, they're so precious, guys. You gotta count your summers. You gotta plan now. You can still do classes. You can still do research. If you're thinking about going on missions, but you got classes to take, try. I'm sorry. I'm losing my train of thought. Your classes will always be, their session B, but your classes will always be there to take, but missions won't always be there. It's not an opportunity that you will always have. So now's the time to go. Okay, next part of this presentation. So why Laos? If you want to go on missions, why would you consider going to Laos? Again, now is the time for Laos. You hear about missions in other countries like Kyrgyzstan, maybe one person accepts Christ, or you go to the Middle East, and I've heard stories from missionaries in the Middle East where they spend 10 years and they haven't bared a single fruit. But, Laos, we had 12.5 people accept Christ. Now is the time to really reach out to the people in Laos. Now is the time. Because Laos is still one of those poor, unmodernized countries. But right now, they're working on developing. They're working on industrialization. And, now is the time to reach out to their hearts before their hearts are stolen away by this world. Before their hearts are stolen away by the kinds of things that other countries that have these distractions, these modernization things. Sorry, I'm losing my thoughts again. Anyway, I get really lost when I speak. Anyway, now's the time to go to Laos because, it's the time, they're ready. It's this short window of opportunity. And you should go because, I had a lot of fun. And the people there are really friendly, and the food's really good, and it's really cheap, $2 for a good bowl of soup. And people are friendly. And Laos is one of those countries that nobody knows about. So you tell your friend, you come back and you say, you're talking about what you did or something. You're like, oh, I went to Laos. They're like, oh, where's Laos? Is that a country or is that where is that? And then you get to tell them about your whole mission experience. It's really cool. Yeah. You should go to Laos. Breathe. Anyway. Oh, yeah. I don't remember. Okay, never mind. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, you can So anyway, I guess we're going to go into a time of prayer. And the first thing we're going to pray about is having an open heart to our mission. One of the greatest forms of worship you can offer to God is obedience. And in line with that is sacrifice. So in addition to obedience is sacrifice that aligns with that obedience. Those are some of the greatest things that we can offer God. Some of the greatest things where God takes pleasure in them. And if you're tired of this life, if you're tired of showing up to chapel and being stirred but walking away the same person, if you're tired of just this monotony or this you show up and you show up and you walk away the same person, or if you're tired of the stagnation in your spiritual life, missions is the place where you can wake up. Missions is the place where you can be transformed and where you can meet God and where you can come back a different person and bring that to your world. Missions is that place. I highly recommend that going. And I would like to take this time to pray about having an open heart toward mission. Let's go into that. Secondly, I want to pray about Laos. Again, like Laos, this is the opportunity to reach out to the people in Laos. And there are so many workers who are already there in Laos, and I want to pray for the workers that are in Laos, and that they will be able to effectively reach the hearts of the people there before it's too late in this short window of opportunity. Let's pray about that.
Their hearts and how they're just ready to meet with you, and they're ready to live with you, and they're ready to really accept your love. Pray
opportunities that you have placed in our lives, God, for allowing us to come to this university and allowing us to have so many opportunities placed in front of us, Father. pray that you would open our eyes to these opportunities and that you would allow us to take these opportunities, that we would have a desire, God, to glorify your name, to make your name known, and that you would allow us to see these chances to make your name known. And I pray for the people of Laos, God. I pray for the staff that are there, God, that you would enable them to reach out to the lost in Laos, God, that you would allow them to reach out to the hearts that are so ready, God. I pray that, God, you would work in the hearts of the people of Laos and allow their hearts to be good soil, ready for planting out. I pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
To ask for